Hi, I'm here with Doug Tatum, Chairman of Newport Board Group. Doug, tell me how Newport Board Group provides value for CEOs and boards of companies.
Well, Newport specializes in two segments. In the first segment, we specialize in working with the CEOs of what we call emerging middle market companies. These are companies that are in no man's land. They're too big to be small, too small to be big. Typically $5 to $50 million in revenues. Many of these CEOs have indicated through surveys and research that they need to have and engage with an advisor or an advisory board that has some experience in the kind of decisions they're going to make to get their company to the next level. So Newport, effectively, we refer to it as the CEO advisory practice or the board advisory practice. One of our partners gets retained by the CEO of the company. All of our partners have deep domain operating expertise as operating executives in larger and smaller companies. And so this provides in a very affordable manner the ability for a CEO to connect with both a partner and an expert network of the firm to talk about the kind of decisions that they face to get to the next level. And that can be very, very valuable to someone who's trying to grow a company.
And do you focus on any specific industries with these companies?
No, we're not. We're literally a point-in-time solution provider. And point in time meaning that we capture a company that's literally transitioning from small to larger. It's about 600,000 of them in the U.S. in that size rate. They grow more rapidly and hire more often than their counterparts in the industry in general, but we have no specific industry specialization in that case. So in other words, the issues that those companies face are industry independent.
Okay.
And the ability for us to sit down and talk about, our experiences in building a sales force, or what kind of financial information should they start looking for, and helping to size up their existing management team, or mentoring, if you will, one of the executives that the CEO wants us to work with to see if they can get good enough to pass muster at a larger size. Those are the kind of things we do for a very, very reasonable retainer per month. That's what the Newport does in its core practice with emerging middle market companies.
And tell me more about how you would provide value to private equity firms as well.
Well, if our first segment at Newport is the no man's land segment, the second segment is private equity. And private equity, more and more, as they've gone through this recession, and they are at the tail end of getting some of their companies ready to exit, it's become more and more important for private equity to create governance, particularly if they want to sell this upstream to a larger company or strategic. So our partners will serve as board members on behalf, independent board members on behalf of private equity firms. And that allows a private equity firm to get somebody engaged with a portfolio company that does have specifically deep domain expertise or industry knowledge about that portfolio company. It allows them to enhance, obviously, their view of the industry and their own company by bringing somebody on that's got that background. And third, our partners are all board level folks. They've been there, done that in private equity, been on boards. And so effectively, we become the first national professional services firm that specializes in providing board members to private equity portfolio companies. And on occasion, they ask us to step in and do projects or even serve as in an interim situation if there's something that the private equity firm needs us to cover while they make some final decisions on personnel. So those are our two segments, and that's what we do.
Great. And now with the no man's land services, can you give me a use case of a company that you've worked with in the so-called no man's land and how you help them decide whether to stay small or move forward and become a large company?
Well, yeah, I could give you a number of them, but a perfect example would be a company that I'm aware of who's was a father and a son. And obviously the father had built a business and wanted to transfer more and more responsibility to his son. And the son was quite talented, but as you can imagine, sometimes the noise that goes on between a father and son as they build their fences around how they're going to work together in a company can be very interesting. So in this particular case, one of our partners was brought in to literally work with the son and work with how he makes decisions, how he gathers information. He can have a discussion about what he believes his son should improve on, probably in a lot more, what would you say, more fruitful or more productive way perhaps than the father can. So we became if you will, an independent advisor, mentoring and working with the son between the father and the son in a pretty good size family business. That would be an example, a case example where we're dealing with a private company that's family oriented.
Okay, great. And now in terms of your private equity services, you mentioned that you sometimes work on small projects with these companies as well. Tell me something that would consist of.
Well, I know of one right now that we're doing in the South where a private equity firm was involved in doing an acquisition and preparing a company for sale. And so they needed both some financial and senior executive talent to help in that integration for about a 6-month period of time to stabilize and allow them to go out and find some of the management talent that they wanted permanently. So we're stepping in that fray and effectively handling that that task for them while they gives them some breathing room while they figure out who and how and what they want to do with that combined company.
Great. And Doug, I know you're busy, so I have one last question for you. Tell me your predictions for Newport Board Group in the next year.
Well, I mean, we're a startup and very new. I think the end of this previous month, March, was our first year in business. We have 62 partners and 10 or so offices, and I would hope, and at least what we can see, the visibility that we have on the business would indicate that we should be continuing to grow at a pretty rapid rate, and the market seems to be responding to those two value propositions in those two segments. So, you know, we hope not to snatch you know, defeat from the jaws of victory, but right now we're very comfortable that we're in a good situation for a startup.
What are some specific ways that you plan on growing business?
Well, there is a number of ways that we have designed that we think are going to be productive. One is we built a very, very cool executive MBA workshop with some of the top research institutions around case studies that help CEOs understand what no man's land is about. And we've been invited by accounting firms and law firms and banks around the country to effectively, on a regular basis, run these workshops, educating CEOs about the issue of no man's land, what it's like to be too small, too big to be small, too small to be big. So in that case, we think that's going to have a dramatic impact on the exposure of the firm. And then secondly, we have been engaged with some of the state-of-the-art research on what's going on in this market through the Institute of Exceptional Growth Companies, which I am a member of the chair of the Research Advisory Board. So we are promulgating thought leadership in this sector throughout the country, and I think that will help us gain exposure to what we do. Because what we do is unique and nobody's done it before, so we'll see how that works out.
Great. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. And Doug, thank you so much for taking the time.
Very good.
If you're interested in learning more and connecting with Doug Tatum, go to fundology.com.